Yo, it's another beautiful day to learn something new. Now, tumeongea sana kuhusu nyota, kurudisha nyota, kuibiwa nyota, purpose, hizi vitu zote. And before nimalize hii series, there's something I talked about inaitwa alignment. Nimekuwa nikisema kama unataka nyota yako ishine, you have to be aligned properly. So I thought maybe before as we finish this series, it's important I help you understand what alignment is. Ndio nikikwambia you need to align yourself properly. I keep telling you alignment is the most important thing. Ujue alignment ni nini. So let's talk about alignment. So what is alignment? Alignment is when you're in a world. Na tukiongea about inner world in spirituality, tunakuanga tukiongea about thoughts, tunakuanga tukiongea about values, tunakuanga tukiongea about choices, beliefs, hizo vitu zote that happen in your mind and in your heart. Okay? Hizo vitu unafikiria, hizo vitu zenye unajiambia, the things that you believe, hizo vitu zote lazima zikuwe aligned to three things. Number one, they have to be aligned to your destiny. So kama inakuwa aligned to your destiny, iko aligned to your purpose and destiny. Remember purpose and yo, it's another beautiful day to learn something new. Now, we've been talking about nyota, kurudisha nyota, kuibiwa nyota, tukaongea purpose, tukaongea tumeongea tu vitu mob. And I thought before I close this series, kuna kitu moja nimekumbuka yenye nimetaja huko mbele yenye sija define ni nini. Na hiyo ni kitu inaitwa alignment. Nimekuambia ukitaka nyota yako ishine, ukitaka kuwa on the path to your destiny, lazima ukuwe properly aligned. Na nikakwambia alignment is very important. Because when you're not aligned, nothing will work. And when you're aligned, things will fall into place. So let's look at what alignment is. So that nikisema alignment, because I'll be talking a lot about alignment huko mbele, to understand what it is that you're talking about. So what is alignment? Alignment is when you're in a world. Na in spirituality, when you're talking about your inner world, tunaongea kuhusu vitu kama thoughts, vitu unafikirianga, values zako, choices zako, the decisions that you make, beliefs, zile vitu zenye unaamini. When all those things match, they match your purpose and your destiny. Okay? Like whatever you believe, whatever you're thinking about, whatever you are hoping for matches what you're doing, in simple terms. So alignment is when you are true to yourself. Like whatever you believe, whatever you're thinking about matches with what you're doing. Okay? So you're living out your purpose. You're true to who you are. Your actions, your mindset, your beliefs, your energy, everything is moving towards the same direction. Okay? For example, unataka kuolewa. You want to get married to a good husband, a God-fearing husband, that is what you want. But you believe and you trust in God. Unasema, I believe God will give me this person. I trust in God. But on the inside, you believe they are not good men. You believe marriage is a scam. You believe men are trash. So the things that you believe and the things that you want hazipelekani. Because where are you going to get this good man if all men are trash? Where are you going to get this good man? Where are you going to get this good marriage if marriages are a scam? Another example, you want to be a successful businessman. Okay? That is what you want. But kwa mind yako una believe, huwezi omoka bila kuiba. Kitaka biashara yako iwaka lazima utumie kauchawi kidogo. So whatever you thinking and whatever you want, they are not in the same line. So you're not aligned properly. Okay? So you have to make sure that you are aligned, number one, to God's will, because the most powerful alignment is to God's will. So align to God's will, align to your destiny. And when you align to your destiny, that means you are aligned to your purpose as well. And number three, you align to something we call higher truths. And I'll talk about higher truths later in this video. So pause your jina. Hapo kwa higher truths, eka star. Nitakwambia higher truths ni nini. So what happened when you are aligned? When you are aligned, you feel peace, flow and clarity. Ukua aligned na what you want, kuna kuanga na clarity. Hakunaga confusion. Confusion inakujanga when you're not aligned. For example, you are looking for a good man, but then you believe men are trash. So you're already in confusion. So even if you meet a good guy, utakuwa unajaribu kushangaa ni nini mbaya na yeye. Okay? Because you don't believe that this guy can exist. So even when you meet them, there's a lot of confusion in your head. Number 2, opportunities come with less force. When you are properly aligned, that means you're flowing the way things are supposed to be flowing. Along the way, opportunities will start popping up bila hata wewe kuforce. But when you're not aligned, hapo ndo unapata the need to steal, the need to corrupt things, the need to cut corners to try and force the outcome. So when you are aligned, you are guided by inner knowing. You understand things. So haufanyi guesswork. When you are aligned, you attract what's meant for you, because alignment leads you towards the same direction, towards the direction that you're supposed to go, and it always leads you to the right place. So when you're not aligned, what happened? Number 1, you feel stuck, anxious, and restless. Ila time uko aligned, unasikianga tu umekwama. That's why we talk about the spirit of stagnation. That's why we talk about confusion. That's why when you're going to meet somebody for a date, you are anxious because you're not in alignment. Okay? Ukianza biashara, uko anxious, utuli, mpaka you cannot even take a risk. Okay? Because you're not properly aligned. When you're not aligned, you chase things that don't fulfill you. And that's how you end up in the wrong relationships. That's how you end up in deals or businesses that you lose money. That's how you end up in wrong friendships, because you're chasing things that don't fulfill you. You're trying to fill a void in you. Another thing is you keep hitting invincible resistance. When you're not aligned, hakuna kitu yako anga inaingiana. Vitu zinaendaga at some point zinakwama, you cannot explain kwa nini zimekwama, kwa nini hazijakwama, kwa nini may happen. You can't even tell what you've done wrong. You look like you've done everything correct, but since you're not aligned, things will get stuck at some point. And we'll be talking so much about these things, and that is why it was important for me to do this foundational course with you. Also, when you're not aligned, you may succeed outwardly. Tunaweza ona ni kama uko sawa, but inside you're going to feel empty. You can be in a very happy relationship, but inside you feel empty. You can have a lot of money, but inside you feel empty. That is because you're not properly aligned to God's will, to your purpose or destiny, and to the higher truths. Okay? So alignment is not about perfection. It's returning to your truth after you drift. So alignment, to be aligned, does not mean to be perfect. It just means kama what you want is here, and what you believe or what you're thinking about is here, umezileta in the same line. It doesn't have to be perfect, but at least it's on the right path. So it avoid confusion, it avoid kufeel ni kama ujielewi na vitu kama hizo. Okay? Now, I talked to you about higher truths, na nikakwambia nitakuexplainia higher truths ni nini. So what are higher truths? Higher truths are timeless spiritual principles that remain true regardless of religion, culture, time period. Okay? These truths govern how reality works at a deeper level. Okay? Hizi ni zile tunaitanga the spiritual laws. Tunasemanga the world is ran, or the world is controlled by universal laws and principles. They are spiritual universal laws that run the world. Laws and principles that run the world. Hizo ndo tunaitanga higher truths, and they are true whether you're, regardless of your culture, whether you're black, white, Masai, Mukamba, they apply to all of you. It doesn't matter about your culture. It doesn't also matter about your religion, whether you're a Muslim, Satanist, Christian, Hindu, they apply to each and every one, and they don't change. Since time immemorial to as far as you can think in the future, these laws and principles will remain the truth. For example, the law of cause and effect. It's a spiritual law that doesn't change, that will never change. And that simply means there is, for every action, there's an effect. For every cause, there's an effect. For every action or inaction, there's a consequence. That's a spiritual law. That does not change. Another popular spiritual law is what we call the law of correspondence, as above, so below. If you want to understand things in the spirit, you have to understand things in the physical, you have to understand things of the mind. If you do not understand things of the spirits, and you do not understand things of the mind, you do not understand things of the physical, you cannot be able to understand anything spiritually. Okay, and for you to understand things at one level, you have to understand things at a lower level, because patterns repeat across different levels. And these are some of the things that I will be teaching you as we proceed. So these laws and principles are true regardless of your tribe, regardless of your culture, regardless of your beliefs, regardless of your religion. Whether you know them or not, they happen and they affect everything that you do. So why do you need to align with higher truths? So aligning to higher truths leads to a life of fulfillment, because it helps you, number one, discover your destiny. It helps you heal your soul. Number 3, it helps transform your patterns. Number 4, it helps you walk in power, not in confusion. When you understand, for example, let's say take a simple law as the law of cause and effect. You know, for every cause, there's an effect. That means for everything that you do, there has to be an outcome. Okay, for every effect, there's a cause. So everything that happens in your life, there is something that caused it. So when things don't work in your life, instead of starting to blame the devil or Satan or kukimbia kuombewa, sijui kumeenda kununua handkerchief wapi, sijui umeitisha anointing oil wapi, you look for the cause of that effect. Whatever happens, whatever outcome you get, anything that happens in your life is an effect of something greater. So if you can trace back this effect to its cause, you are able to understand what the problem is, and you are able to fix this problem better. And that is what we call spiritual healing and transformation. That's why every time you come to me with a problem, oh Boni nimeibiwa nyota, oh Boni sina nyota, oh Boni niko na dreams mbaya, I always tell you we need to do something called a spiritual audit. Wacha tuangalie hii effect imetoka wapi, what is the cause of this effect. Tunaitrace back, tunaangalia, so that we understand all the laws, all the principles that are at play, so that now we can use the laws to fix this problem. Because for every problem that you have to fix under the world, for every demon you have to cast, for everything you do under the sun, you will have to use the laws, knowingly or unknowingly. You will either use the law with another law, one law against another law, whatever you do, but you're going to use these laws and principles to fix whatever problem that is there. So kila shida, mi naweza iangalia hivi, I can break it down to every law, every principle to the letter. And these are some of the things that I'll be teaching you as we proceed. So I just wanted to mention to you about the higher truths. Ndio sasa tukienda huko mbele nikianza kukwambia higher truths, nikianza kukwambia universal laws and principles, understand tunaongea kuhusu nini. And it's very important to align yourself with these laws. So alignment, unafaa kujialign na vitu tatu. Number 1, God's will. Number 2, your destiny. And number 3, higher truths. Don't worry so much. This is just basic understanding. As we proceed, everything that now I will be doing moving forward, nitakuwa na refer kwa hii mini series. So hii ni mini series yenye utawatch, urewatch mpaka understand kila kitu. A lot of people, when you talk about spirituality, we start thinking about very deep things. Unaanza kufikiria, oh, chumvi ni ya kazi gani? Oh, chumvi inafukuzaga mapepo aje? Oh, kuna watu nasikiaga ma devil worshiper, how do they happen? Oh, ma demons zina operate aje? Oh, wachawi wanafanya aje? Oh, like you want to understand deep spiritual things without understanding the physical things, and that contradicts or goes against the law of correspondence that dictates patterns repeat across different levels. So you have to understand one level for you to be able to understand that other level. You have to understand the physical level. You have to understand things at a very basic level for you to understand complex spiritual matters, because the same things zenye nimekufundisha kwa hii mini series are the same things that now happen at higher levels of existence. Lazima kwanza understand the world around you. Lazima ujielewe, understand nini na happen around wewe before now you start understanding what happens in the realm of the spirits. Unataka ku understand the realm of the spirit na wewe mwenyewe you don't understand your own mind. So inakuwa ngumu. And that's why ukiambiwa vitu zingine zinakaa stories za jaba. Ama ukiexplain vitu zingine au zi understand, because your mind cannot comprehend those things, because you are working against the law of correspondence. So you are not aligned with higher truths. Okay? So that's the end of this series. And I'll hopefully do more series in the future. Maybe nitafanya an advanced series of this probably in the future. But kwanza sasa nataka niende niwafundishe 2-3 things, and I will be referring you to this series a lot. So make sure you watch it from the beginning. And it might sound simple, it might sound basic, it might not even sound spiritual to some of you based on your understanding of spirituality. But we just know everything that I've taught here is to give you a very strong foundation. Remember, spirituality is not about ghosts and demons. It's all about meaning and transformation. And you find meaning by first understanding the basics. And that's why I've tried explaining the basics in the most simplest language that I can use without sounding too deep spiritually, without sounding like I'm trying to show you like I'm better than you or like I know better than you. Nimejaribu the best that I can to simplify this series so that you can grasp the basics. Because the moment you grasp the basics, itakuwa rahisi kwako to understand the complex matters of the spirit. Okay? Thanks for watching. And I'll see you in future videos.